When people think about plastic pollution, they usually picture oceans, sea turtles tangled in bags, floating bottles drifting across waves, or beaches covered in debris. But there's another crisis happening out of sight, one that's just as serious and far less talked about. Our forests, places we often consider untouched and pristine, are quietly filling up with plastic. This isn't a distant or abstract issue. It's happening in national parks, remote mountain ranges, and even deep within protected wilderness areas. And the effects go far beyond litter. Plastic is changing how forests function, how animals behave, and even how ecosystems survive. Let's start with how plastic gets into forests in the first place. Some of it is obvious. People bring plastic with them, food packaging, water bottles, camping gear, and sometimes it gets left behind. Even when people intend to pack out their trash, small items get lost or blown away, but that's only part of the story. A large amount of plastic enters forests indirectly. Wind carries lightweight materials like bags and wrappers from cities and roads into wooded areas. Rivers and streams transport plastic upstream during floods or storms, depositing it deep into forest ecosystems. Landfills located near forested regions often leak waste, especially during heavy rain. Over time, these sources accumulate, turning forests into hidden reservoirs of plastic pollution. Once plastic is in the forest, it doesn't just sit there harmlessly. It begins to break down, but not in the way natural materials do. Instead of decomposing, plastic fragments into smaller and smaller pieces known as microplastics. These particles are now being found in forest soil across the world. This is where the problem becomes more complex. Forest soil isn't just dirt, it's a living system. It contains fungi, bacteria, insects, and plant roots that work together to recycle nutrients and support growth. Microplastics interfere with this system in ways scientists are still trying to fully understand. Studies have shown that microplastics can alter soil structure, making it less able to retain water. They can also affect microbial communities, which play a critical role in breaking down organic matter. When these processes are disrupted, it impacts plant health. Trees may grow more slowly, become more vulnerable to disease, or struggle to survive in already challenging conditions. Plastic also carries chemicals. Many plastics contain additives like plasticizers, flame retardants, and stabilizers. As plastic breaks down, these chemicals can leach into the soil. Some of them are known to be toxic, affecting both plant life and the organisms that live underground. Then there's the impact on wildlife. Forest animals interact with plastic in ways that are often harmful. Some species ingest it, mistaking it for food. Others become entangled in it. While these problems are well documented in marine environments, they are increasingly being observed on land. For example, small mammals and birds have been found using plastic fragments in their nests. At first glance, this might seem harmless or even adoptive, but plastic doesn't behave like natural materials. It can trap heat, release chemicals, and create sharp edges that injure young animals. In some cases, chicks and small animals have died after becoming entangled in synthetic fibers. Larger animals are not immune. Deer, boar, and even predators can ingest plastic accidentally while feeding. Over time, this can lead to internal injuries, reduced appetite, and eventually death. Unlike organic material, plastic doesn't break down inside the body. There's also a more subtle effect. Plastic pollution can change animal behavior. If certain areas become contaminated, animals may avoid them altogether. This can disrupt migration patterns, feeding habits, and breeding cycles. Over time, these changes can ripple through the entire ecosystem. One of the most overlooked aspects of this issue is how plastic affects forest regeneration. Young plants are especially sensitive to changes in soil conditions. If microplastics alter the soil's ability to hold water or nutrients, it can reduce the success rate of new growth. This means fewer saplings survive to become mature trees. In areas already under stress from climate change, this is a serious concern. Forests play a key role in absorbing carbon dioxide. If their ability to grow and regenerate is compromised, it weakens one of the planet's most important natural defenses against climate change. There's also the issue of fire. Plastic in forests can influence how fires start and spread. Some types of plastic are highly flammable. When they burn, they release toxic fumes that are far more dangerous than those from natural materials. This not only affects wildlife, but also poses risks to firefighters and nearby communities. Even after a fire, plastic residues remain in the soil. These can continue to release harmful chemicals long after the flames are gone, affecting recovery efforts and slowing the return of plant life. Another layer of the problem is scale. Plastic production has increased dramatically over the past few decades, and much of it is designed for single use. At the same time, waste management systems in many parts of the world are struggling to keep up. This means more plastic escapes into the environment, including forests. What makes this issue particularly challenging is that it's often invisible. Unlike a beach covered in trash, forest plastic pollution is scattered and hidden. It's tucked under leaves, buried in soil, or broken down into particles too small to see. This makes it harder to measure and easier to ignore. But scientists are starting to pay closer attention. Recent research has found microplastics in remote forest regions that are far from any obvious source of pollution. In some cases, these particles are being carried through the air and deposited by rain. This means that even forests with little human activity are not safe from contamination. So, what can be done about it? At an individual level, the most immediate action is reducing plastic use, especially single-use items. This might sound basic, but it directly affects how much plastic enters the environment. Proper disposal is just as important. Even small items like food wrappers can have long-term impacts if they end up in a forest. For people who spend time outdoors, responsible behavior matters. Packing out all waste, avoiding unnecessary packaging, and being mindful of gear choices can make a difference. Some outdoor products now use biodegradable or less harmful materials, though these are not a complete solution. On a larger scale, better waste management is critical. This includes improving recycling systems, reducing landfill leakage, and preventing plastic from entering natural areas in the first place. Policies that limit certain types of plastic, especially those that are difficult to recycle, can also help. There's also a need for more research. Forest ecosystems are complex, and the long-term effects of plastic pollution are not yet fully understood. More data can help guide better decisions and more effective solutions. Finally, awareness plays a key role. The reason ocean plastic gets so much attention is because it's visible and emotionally impactful. Forest plastic pollution doesn't have that same visibility, but that doesn't make it less important. In fact, its hidden nature may make it more dangerous. Forests are often seen as places of escape, where people go to disconnect from modern life. But the reality is that even these environments are being shaped by human activity in ways we're only beginning to understand. Plastic is part of that story. This isn't about blaming individuals or creating a sense of hopelessness. It's about recognizing a problem that has been overlooked and understanding that it has real consequences. Forests are not just collections of trees. They are complex systems that support biodiversity, regulate climate, and provide resources that millions of people depend on. When plastic enters these systems, it doesn't just disappear, it changes them. And unless we start paying attention, those changes may be permanent. The next time you think about plastic pollution, don't just picture the ocean. Picture a forest floor, covered in leaves with tiny fragments of plastic mixed into the soil. Picture animals interacting with materials that don't belong there. Picture a system slowly being altered, piece by piece. Because that's what's happening right now. And it's happening quietly.